presenting Channeling Erik's Hour of Enlightenment.
Oh my God, I can't believe they actually played our intro. I am so stoked about that. And I'm so stoked about being on the air with all you guys that I love so much. We are going to talk to Erik through the wonderfully gifted medium, Kim Babcock. Hi, Kim.
Hello. Thank you. That's a good sign. We got our intro, so that's a good sign.
That's a great sign. First, I want to start out with everybody. Hopefully, you guys know Erik. He's my son, and now he's a spirit guide. He's going to hopefully help you guys navigate through your human experience and other things. But first, I would like Kim to tell us a little bit about herself or anything else she wants to share.
Sure. Well, as many of you guys know, through the blog or through my website, I consider myself a psychic medium, an evidential medium. So I'm able to connect you guys with your loved ones on the other side, or your guides, or even Erik, to help you get through this thing we call life, and make experiences better for you, and also help you deal with your grief and the loss of a loved one. So if that seems like something that appeals to you, please feel free to check out my website. It's www.kimbabcock.net, and you can find me on social media too, all across the board. So I hope to connect with all of you.
Awesome, Kim. Thanks for that. I want to say thank you so much to you, Erik. I love you so much. I miss you so much. And thanks for helping us out today.
He says, mwah, he blows you a kiss and says, thank you, Mamacita. He says, you're the one doing all the hard work.
I don't know about that. But today we're going to have a special topic. I've kind of been concerned over the course of, a decade by how much we have become obsessed with technology. And, we're so engrossed in smart devices and social media. It's almost like we don't really connect anymore. I just want to know if what are the pros and cons of this? Is this part of our evolution? Where will it take us? So hopefully, Erik, you can give us some insight into these questions and more, and give us some advice on how to make the most of this new world, we're in from the spiritual standpoint.
Yeah, that's right. I can relate, Elisa. There's so many times where I kind of look around and you see people at gatherings, but they're not connecting. They're, on their devices or dependent on their devices to help them get through life. And I kind of wonder the same thing. Is this what we're supposed to experience, and where is all of this going? So I can completely relate. Right. And Erik, as he kind of comes in and starts commenting, and he wipes his brow, and he says, man, this is a topic that, he says, this is going to take a lot of discussion. He says, well, first of all, let's acknowledge time. He says, the time that we're in, and he's using those air quotes that he does with his fingers. He says, the time that we're in and the way we experience technology, and the reason why we are incarnated into this point in time with technology where it is, all plays a part into your experience and what you're here to learn as a human being, he says. So though it may seem distasteful to so many, although it might put a bad taste in your mouth or even be something that you're obsessed with, there's a reason why you are living an incarnation during this time and experiencing these technological advances. And he says if we look through the decades in the way that we've made so much progress as, mankind moves forward. And again, using air quotes because really, he's like, really there is no moving forward, but you know what I mean. He says.
Yeah, because there's no time, sure.
Yeah, but he says the way that we experience and develop technology is all relative to what we're supposed to learn here through these different lives. And he says this trickles all the way down to each individual human. So no matter what your experience is with technology, there's a reason why you incarnated in this time with it. And then he kind of goes off and he starts rambling, and he's like, well, there's so many pros. and there are so many cons.
Well, we'll talk about that, but I want to digress a little bit and allow Kim to explain how she is able to translate him so quickly.
Yeah, sure.
How do you do that?
Erik he's probably the easiest to translate so quickly because he uses image, and he also uses, this might sound so crazy and bizarre, but he uses like wavelengths, like frequency. And sometimes the way that I connect to Erik the best, I don't even need the visuals. To be honest with you, to me it seems like telepathic communication. It's like I don't need the visuals. I don't always need words. It's just a vibration that holds information. And so the way that I translate it, it doesn't mean the things that I say sometimes are word for word, what Erik says, and other times it's the general meaning that he's trying to get across. But most of the time when Erik communicates with me, he's communicating through, to me, what looks like and feels like just a frequency. It's just a vibration that I feel.
I see that. Wow.
Yeah, it's just a vibration that holds information, and I feel it. You know, sometimes when I communicate with other spirit loved ones, I feel it up on my crown or in my third eye, like a lot of pressure. But anytime I connect with Erik, it's really strong in my chest. It's really strong at my heart. So yeah, he's really quick at responding. And then, you know, anytime I prepare to communicate with Erik, you know, I start meditating on the topic, and then I just ask him to please prepare my vibration, and help get rid of any filters that I might have in place. So as he does that, you know, as he helps me kind of center and prepare, it's just like aligning with, like merging with information. It just is so quick. It's really difficult to explain, but hopefully that gives you guys an idea of what it's like. I know it sounds strange. Literally, sometimes, though, I'll just see, like, if you were to take a paintbrush and have, like, some light blue paint on it and just swirl across your canvas, that's what it looks like when I see Erik come in. It's just like a vibration. And there's so much information.
Now,
and sometimes it's so darn fast I can't keep up with it.
I can imagine. Speaking of technology, that's got to be the ultimate form of technology. But, yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the pros and cons, Erik, of technology in our day and age.
He goes, oh, like a deep groan. He's taking his hands like he's weighing back and forth, and he says, there's so many pros and there's so many cons, but what you have to remember is what you're learning, what you're experiencing from either or, the pros or the cons, because he says, I promise you, you're going to experience both. You already have. So he says, Mom, if I were to point out the biggest problem in society in regards to technology, he says it's plain and simple. It's pulling people away from interconnection and connection to the divine. He says because
I totally agree. I mean, we just don't connect anymore. We've got our earbuds on and all that kind of stuff. It's like it's disturbing. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. He says people are afraid of themselves. They're afraid to be quiet with themselves. And through that, Mom, that's where you really find that connection with the divine. He says if you can sit in silence and be quiet with yourself, that's where you're going to find and feel and experience that connection. And that
Wait. So you mean we cannot find the divine connection in going on YouTube and looking at cute kitty videos? What? Wait. My whole paradigm has shifted. But go ahead.
He says now, that doesn't mean that you can't have that stuff in your life and know who the divine is. For sure, Mom. He says you can love your technology and you can also have a connection to the divine, but it takes effort. And you have to be able to separate from that stuff. He's tapping on his temple, and he says it's a conscious choice to separate from all technology and to connect here. He says this Sorry.
Uh-oh.
He's shown me this really, it's cute. It's totally appropriate, I promise.
Oh,
but
God.
he's
Thank
laughing.
God.
He started laughing really hard. He goes, I swear, you humans, all you care about is your fucking signal. Do you have signal? Oh, my God, do I have signal? Am I going to make it if I don't have signal? And he's, like, mocking us. And he goes, one thing I promise you. He goes, one thing I promise you, down all your devices, you're always going to have signal in here. And he's tapping on his chest. He says, it's always going to be there. You're always going to have full. But you have to make that conscious choice to connect, to shift your awareness,
to your
he
intuition?
says.
You're talking about connecting to your intuition, right?
Absolutely, Mom. He says that's kind of like, it's the same thing as connecting to your higher consciousness. That's where your intuition flows through. So, but it's,
and
it's
you always
that conscious choice.
You always have, like, 5 bars on that one, right? and yeah, you know, it's free. You don't have a monthly fee to pay, so that's good.
Yeah. He says, bingo, my job's done here.
Okay.
Oh, he's so funny.
What else can you say about it? Yeah.
He says, you know, it's really important, too, to think about a few things. He says, I really want to talk about the way people move energy through technology. And he says, what I mean by that is, well, there's a few things that can happen. He says, it's great. It can keep you connected to family that lives clear across the world. But can also be your worst enemy. Because let's say you're scrolling through whatever social media feed you have, and you see something shitty, and then you decide to repost it and say, hey, let's stop this. Let's promote love instead. He says you're really actually defeating the purpose. If you repost that garbage, that hate, and you say, hey, let's stop this, even though it seems as if you're trying to shift, you're actually just feeding into the energy of its existence. So scroll on by. He says when you see negative, hateful things happening in the world, no matter what it is, if it's politics, if it's third world countries and people dying and you don't understand why, he says instead of resharing that garbage, he says it's just amplifying that consciousness, that collective energy. So instead of resharing it, saying, hey, let's stop animal abuse, he says don't even feed into it. There's a lot of hate being spread in, he says it's like an illusion to us, the way we perceive it. But he says when you repost it or share stuff like that, it feeds into the existence of it. And then he kind of like tilts his head to the side.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But another thing that I see that I don't really like is that when you text people or tweet or whatever, you can be so misunderstood because the emotional, the intention behind what you're saying can be totally lost. You can't really convey emotions in a text message, for example. So,
that's so
a lot
true.
of times when I'm writing somebody, I have to like do an exclamation point. So like, I'm so cheerful, I'm so excited about this, so I have to do that. Or if I'm giving some bad news, I have to have a smiley face behind it, whatever, because it's hard to pass on that emotion.
It is, and he says back to you, he says, and when we live in a culture that is always hunting for the bad, the negative, it's easily misunderstood. Or can you believe they wrote that? And then it says oftentimes every exchange is misunderstood to some degree. And he also says, but think about too how that takes away from your personal experience of knowing yourself. So if you're texting your spouse instead of talking to them, he says, why not have that conversation with them when they get home? Sometimes, I get it. He says, you got to grab milk on your way home, whatever. But he says, you're defeating the purpose of getting to know yourself in that relationship and with that person. So, but He says, don't get me wrong. He's like, there are definitely people that can disconnect and put the devices down, put any, technological advances in their life aside, and still have a connection with the divine. But that's where it takes heart and a conscious decision. he says.
So it takes discipline. Any other advice you have on how we can handle this burgeoning of technology in our lives?
He says, yeah, it's more of a challenge. He's kind of like, he says, I challenge you guys to get away from your devices as long as you can stand it. And see what,
no.
He says, see what that means to you. See what that tells you about you. He says, we're such a nation that needs to be preoccupied. Let your existence, your energy, and the space that you're in occupy your consciousness. He says that's when your true connection flows in. But we're always so preoccupied, our brains are entertained, and there's no quiet space in there anymore. He says he goes, and then there's no room for people like me.
Oh, so, poor. Cast aside, have you been? Oh.
He says, one way or another, I'll make my presence known. Don't worry.
I was going to say, you can always make yourself heard, Erik.
And sometimes it's through those devices, he says.
Anything else before we go on to callers, sweetie?
He says, he's cupping around his mouth. He says, yeah, I love you, Mom. He's so sweet. He's real playful.
Oh, you're so sweet, baby. I miss you, and I love you so much. I really do. Anyway,
he says, I love you, Mom.
I know you do. I want to thank Life Paranormal for giving us this avenue to share Erik with the world. And I think we should take callers. What do you think, Erik?
He says, like, he gets a real deep tone. He goes, oh, I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right. We've got somebody from the 928 area code. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey. Can you hear me?
What's up? Yes, I can. Who are you? What's your first name?
This is Andrew from Sedona. I've called once before. I'm the deeply empathic.
I thought you sounded familiar.
Yeah, hi again.
Hello.
Hey.
My question today is about, well, Erik had said in the last calling about that I really needed to take care of myself, and first of all, the advice that I was given was extremely helpful.
Good.
I just wanted to thank you guys again because it's been really amazing just seeing the difference even with the little bits of advice that was given.
Awesome.
So thank you. And my question is for Erik is this whole idea of what is the edge where self-care is just service to self, like selfishness, or is that even a thing? I don't know. It's been something that has come over me. Like, if I've taken care of myself too much and being selfish.
No,
that's a great question.
Always put yourself first. But go ahead. Let's see what Erik has to say.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question that a lot of people have asked, and they have a hard time doing it. It's really surprising. He says, one word I want you to keep in mind. Nope, he says two words. He says welfare and quality. Always put your own, he says always put your own welfare first, because how can you truly be good for anything else if you're not good for yourself first? So think about your own personal welfare. Then also quality of life, quality of experience. He says you need to keep that, the thought of quality in mind too, because again, you can't truly learn from any experience or even like achieve a higher consciousness if you don't have that quality of welfare, of personal care and love first. And then he says now, there's a huge difference here, and he's drawing a deep line. He says there's a huge difference here in taking care of yourself, loving yourself, and then doing it through ego. He says just as long as you center yourself in love, do it out of love, because you know if you're better for you, you can be better for all else. So do it with that in mind, and you'll never have a problem with ego. But if it's, hey, I'm going to do this because it makes me look better, or, you know, any egocentric sort of thought or feeling, he says, then you got to kind of step carefully.
Doing it in a way that hurts, doing it another way that involves harm to others, I think would be
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you again. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I hope that helped.
It does. Thank you.
Bye. That'll help a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
All
a great
right.
question.
It is, because, I struggle with that too. I never really want to take care of myself. I want to put other people first, and it's a problem. But anyway, we've got somebody from the 630 area code. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
Who
Can
am I
you hear
speaking
me?
with? Yes,
Diana.
who am I speaking with?
Diana from Chicago.
Diana from Chicago. Hi. What would you like to ask Erik?
First, thank you for allowing me to ask Erik a question, and I love you guys so much.
It's an honor.
Oh, we love you too. Thank you.
Erik, my question is, my sisters and I, all three of us suffer from Hashimoto, which is an autoimmune disease, and all three of us is, constantly tired, fatigue every day, and I've been to an endocrinologist, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and it's so debilitating. And though I do appreciate that, it could be worse, and I could have a worse illness, and I get that, and I appreciate what I have. But my question is, why? Why is it that my sisters and I are suffering with this debilitating illness that's just constantly dragging us every day, that we can't enjoy life? We can't do things that other people do.
Yeah, you know what?
Why?
Diana, I want to know that too, because I had the same disease. So, yeah, Erik, lay
you
it
do?
on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he says this is, there's a few things to answer for you. First of all, he says for you specifically, obviously this is a choice that you've made to experience. He says this is about understanding and accept of life, not just what you can do physically, but also emotionally, because it's he says this experience is to help you understand the human side, being human, because as humans we have limitations. Okay, so this he says this is just one. This disease is one of many examples that you can choose to experience to understand what it means and how it means, he says, to be limited through the human experience. So on the spiritual side of things, he says this is a manifestation of difficulty with aligning with and staying aligned with your pure consciousness. He says true and actual consciousness means having the body, and just go with me for a minute here. He says having the body connected, the body and the soul together as one all the time. He says it's really hard to achieve. And if you have one, he says, let's say way back in your childhood, you have one experience where you actually got angry at your body, then you turned on it. Then you saw your body as the enemy. He says this is how most autoimmune disorders are born, is beginning to see your body.
That?
Yeah, beginning to see your body as the enemy. So he says if you want to undo that, this is difficult because this is one of those things where you're experiencing, he says, the physicality of it. So truly shifting. Okay, so for example, let's say, I'd really love to go on that walk today in the park, but I'm afraid I might not have the endurance. So predetermining what you're going to experience with that disease, with that thought, is it's a deep, sick cycle, he says. So he says, I know I'm asking you a lot because it's a hard shift humanly to make through your consciousness. But begin to open and embrace experiences without that thought, without that burden on your back. And then he also says, this might sound really out there or different, but he's encouraging you to read, or anybody with autoimmune, for some reason, he's encouraging you to read this book called The Power of Now. I've never read it, so I'm not really sure.
Oh, is that from
Eckhart Tolle?
From, yeah, that's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay. I read a lot because I'm always too tired to go out. And this is my next question for Erik. You know, I do try to meditate. I'm becoming very spiritual, and I do try to meditate. But here's my problem. When I get in that relaxed stage, I fall asleep, and then I wake up, and I was like, oh, what happened? I end up falling asleep all the time. So is there a way where I can meditate? Because you always, like, relax. You know, get in a quiet space, and then I'm starting to relax, and I feel deeper and deeper, and the next thing I know, I'm falling asleep.
Mhm. Yeah. So let me finish that thought real quick, just so you can kind of connect the dots in what he was saying. Somehow, I guess this book is going to help you align with your consciousness a little bit better, and so when you can really grasp that, the depth of that, he says, then you'll be able to actually make changes through your consciousness. Make changes that will affect your health. And then with the meditation, he says, he goes, remember, guys, meditation is whatever brings you to the essence of you. It can be a huge misconception that we have to sit in a quiet space and be quiet. He says some people playing the drums is their meditation. Some people, blaring their music. Some people working in their garden or, surfing the waves. Whatever brings you to the essence of you.
Some people just sleep.
Yeah, and that's what he said. When you fell asleep, he said, well, perhaps that's the universe bringing you to what your body needs. So
that's interesting.
He said, don't discard that and don't think that that's, that was a failure. Here we go again, He says it's not a failed attempt to meditate, but get creative with how you meditate. It's just what connects you to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Thanks
Keep
for
doing what you're doing. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Man, that's a good
somebody one. Here. That is a good one, really. We have somebody from the 217 area code. Hello, how are you?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
can
ma'am.
You hear us?
Oh, fabulous.
Awesome.
Nice to talk to you all.
Name?
This is my Paulette. You know me from the
Paulette.
blog.
Yes.
Yeah. This was the reason I was calling. And by the way, I have read everything that Eckhart Tolle has written. And
oh, cool.
Oh, he's so cool. He's just
very.
It just takes you there, if you read his stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, my friend died in April 3rd, and his name is Jerry Blackburn. He died of cancer, and I don't think the cancer was what killed him in the end. It was just all these other physical ailments that he had, after you do chemo and all that stuff. He was not a well person for a long time. And can Erik go get him so I can just say hi? He had doubts about this.
We don't bring in deceased for many reasons, but you can ask a question like, how is he doing, or what did he die from? You can ask Erik questions about it.
Well, I mean, I know how he died. I was present for a lot of that. He had a lot of doubts about this, although he indulged me, with my stories about it and stuff. And at times I think I even annoyed him. But because I wanted him to be hopeful for what was coming,
Yeah.
And if I could talk to him, I would ask him.
Generally, what we do here is we don't bring on other loved ones because there's a large validation process that I go through in order to let them come in and speak freely.
Yeah.
But what I can do is have Erik sort of explain his experience, what he went through and why. Erik seems to feel the need to do that, so hopefully that'll bring you
about
some
Jerry
closure.
Or about Erik?
No, about Jerry.
Jerry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything that you could give me. I just want to know that Jerry's okay and that, hey, it was true what she said. You know what I mean? And there is an afterlife, and I'm okay, and
Erik says that a lot of what he experienced, he keeps saying, he's pointing to like multiple body functions, multiple organs, and he keeps giving me the word failure. So the reason why he experienced a lot of health issues and physical limitations because of what's going on internally, he says, was because of his inability to trust himself and also be secure, safe in his skin, Erik says. So he seems like somebody who was always doubtful, always second guessing or unsure, uncertain, and that's what had manifested, Erik says, all of this illness. And Erik says you're right about your thinking and what actually took him versus the cancer. But this, he says to tell you he's fine now. Obviously, that he's restored. There's no health issues that limit him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But he says he thinks it's kind of Eric's laughing. Says he thinks it's kind of funny, this whole process now, because he was nonetheless, he said that his experience with his health was directly due to his own insecurities in his own skin and in his own experience. So everything that he was going through in life, just insecure or unsure, was what birthed these health issues, he says.
But he's doing okay now. He's happy now?
He's free now, Mom, he says.
He went over, right? I mean, he did. At first I thought maybe he stuck around, and I wondered if there was if he had any concerns about anybody that he left behind or anything.
Erik says, concerns, not necessarily. He says, I wouldn't use that word. He says, now, here's something I want you to think about, Erik says. When somebody passes and makes their transition, they're automatically in another realm with God. We're always with God no matter where we are. He says, now it just depends on where your consciousness is and what you focus on as to what you experience. So please, Erik says, please don't think he was ever stuck somewhere and didn't get to be with God or at peace. Erik says, because that truly is impossible. It can't happen. He says, as long as there's God energy, it can't happen. So he says, know that your friend is well and know that your friend is at rest, he says.
Oh, he said, well, him and I agreed, but I don't know what he remembers, but him and I agreed that he would, leave me an unmistakable sign, that he was okay. And I don't know if he's tried to get a hold of me. Sometimes I think I'd hear him a couple of times, but this kind of stuff has been happening to me for years. I hear people trying to I can tell that they're trying to reach me. And then I unfortunately, I just wake up. So, and then I don't get to finish anything. So
The last question, Erik, is he going to reach her and give her a sign?
Erik says he already has. He's already been trying. And he says it's not a matter of a trust thing with you. Most people it is, but he says for you, he says you're more concerned with is it right? Is this how it's supposed to be? Is this how it's happening? So he says just to kind of relax and let it flow however you feel connected to your loved ones on the other side, just to relax. And then also he says you're almost there but not quite. What he means by that is some people experience things and it startles them. It does not frighten, but it startles them to where it shifts their consciousness, and then it kind of breaks that connection. So
yeah, I don't think I'm scared, but
yeah, no,
I think I have a gift that was never developed because I know people are trying to tell me things. Even my guide.
Yeah. Yep,
I can hear people yelling like.
That.
Yeah, I don't know how to get it, but.
You're so lucky.
Well, it's not doing him any good, or me any good now.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
You'll get there.
Be patient and allow it to enter you, and allow it to. Yeah. All right.
Erik
well, thank you for
they're
calling.
working on you.
All right. Hope I didn't stay on too long. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, and I want to again shout out to liveparanormal.com for giving us the platform to do all this wonderful work with Erik. And Erik, I love you in case you forgot.
He says, I love you, Mom. He says, I know what's written on your heart. He says, I'll never forget.
I know. Well, we got somebody from the 405 area code. Hi, what's your first name?
Hi, this is Deborah. Can you hear me?
Hi, Deborah.
Hello?
Hi,
Hello.
I hear
How are
you.
you, Elisa?
Hi, sweetie.
Kim. Hi, Erik.
Welcome.
I wanted
Hey.
to say hi. Thank you so much. I wanted to say hi to Erik, and I wanted to be fairly quick here because I know other people are waiting. But I want to see if you can talk to me about my guides and how I can tell that they are around me. I asked him to be my guide a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't seen any signs. So, and also too, I was wondering if he could give me a bit of wisdom about what is going on in my life right now, because I'm having a difficult time with quite a few things.
Okay. First of all, when you asked about your guides, and you said, how can I tell when they're around? He gave me a ringing in my ear, so that's what you'll experience. Pay attention to that. He says it's not always going to be seeing something, maybe not always feeling something yet. Sometimes it has to be very simple to recognize for us to trust that it's happening. And for you, he says, he literally makes me feel like your ears will ring a real high-pitched tone when your guides are trying to come in and let you know that they're there.
That sounds annoying.
He says it's just a shift in... Go ahead.
My left ear has been ringing quite a bit, actually. Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So trust that, Erik says trust that is your guide. There's two gentlemen, there's two males, Erik says, that are primarily working with you. There's also a lot of females that he says they're more temporary. But the reason why there's these two males coming in, your guides, and then Erik says, of course, anybody that asks me for help, I'm going to help them in a way that I see fit, a way that I know how and I'm allowed. But he says to tell you, he says, above all else, trust what you experience, because it may happen one way for somebody else, and that might be real for them and what they experience. But what you experience is going to be unique to you. He says, and this goes for every human being out there. He says, remember that what you experience is going to be unique to you, because you are your own unique vibration. So your guides will shift your vibration to let you know that they're there, and that's when you're going to hear the ringing in your ears. So to keep that in mind. And then he says, he's funny. He says, you're pretty good at raising your vibration to connect, but you need to work on seeing it through. Like, he makes me feel like you can raise your vibration, but it's hard to keep it there. It's hard to stay consistent with that in order to connect with your guides. So for whatever it's worth, he says, work on keeping it high, the consistency, and you can do that through diet. You can do that through exercise, and even one of his favorite things that he says this to me a lot and to my clients a lot, and so we'll share it with you guys, but he shows me this visual of putting it in neutral. So what he means by that is, as we go through our human experience, try to be in neutral as much as you can, because the more you react with your emotions, the more you're going to, and again, this is in regards to raising your vibration, but he says the more you react and allow your emotions to own you and orchestrate your life experience, the more difficult it's going to be. So just shift it in neutral.
Yeah, it's kind of like a form of resistance. You're resisting in a way.
Yeah, and then just allow everything to happen as it should. He says, especially judgment. We judge even when we don't realize it. So those are just some tips on how you can keep your vibration high. He says, because you're good at raising it.
What about her
but
current
then it
life?
kind of...
Yeah, tell us about her current life.
I'm sorry?
What's going on? Tell us about her current life. What's going on there, Erik?
He shakes his hand like he's uncertain. He says, there's a lot of uncertainty. He says, in regards to experience and what you're experiencing, I feel like this is in relationships, though, with a lot of people. So could be personal, like with a spouse or a significant other, but also friends and family. There's attachments here. He says there's attachments to expectations, and it's, okay, this is a little hard to translate, but it's wanting something to play out a certain way, and then when it doesn't, that you don't get angry, but it's that feeling of uncertainty. So then you begin to approach new situations with that uncertainty in yourself. So he says people are going to give you reasons left and right to be uncertain about them, but don't ever let their actions make you be uncertain about you. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, you are exactly right on this. Yes, thank you, Erik. he hit it right on the head, I think. Yes.
Okay, good.
And Kim, you did too. You did too.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, he's saluting you and blowing you kisses, and he's really diligent and very strongly connected to you. So he's thanking you for opening your heart up to him, he says.
Oh, thank you so much. My heart's open to him as well. I say hi to him every day. So thank you so much. It's
You're
just
so
reassuring
welcome.
to hear from. It is just it's so nice. I just can't even thank you enough.
Good. Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much. You're
welcome.
You have a great evening.
Too.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. We're going to take another one from the 720 area code. Hello, how are you?
Hi, this is Susie from Colorado. How is everybody?
Hi. Doing fine. How are you?
Good. So my question for Erik is, quite a few years ago I had a near-death experience. So most of what Erik is going through, I've been through, which is pretty exciting to listen to him talk because it's very familiar to me. My question is, because after I came back to the human life, I was so depressed. I hated being here. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be there. I lost a few years of my life. So it's kind of a two-part question. The first part is, does he have a date? Because I can't track down the date that it actually happened. And then the second question is since I've come back and that things have changed and now I'm in a different spot in my life, where am I supposed to be going with this experience?
Oh, that's interesting.
Question.
Yeah, he says no to the date, and here's why. He says that is a part of the experience, because here's the emotion that he's giving me, saying that this is what you experienced. It's like I feel robbed of what should be my memory. Like I feel robbed of what I should own, and that. And then here comes the hammer, slamming down the hammer. He says that sense of ownership, like I own that memory. He says this is truly a deep core lesson in how to separate from ego. So he's not saying that you're egotistical or egocentric, nothing like that, but this is more of a lesson of separating from it.
I totally get what he's saying. Totally. It's not needed to know. There's no need to it.
Exactly. He says it really wouldn't change the forward, like your upcoming experiences, your future. So what's more important to focus on, he says, is obviously what did you gain from that experience? He said he makes me feel like this completely shifted your whole focus in life, your whole consciousness. He says you have achieved enlightened awareness. So what's more, he actually makes me feel like you're going to, you are a motivational, and then he says motivational power. So he actually makes me feel like you're going to be sharing your story with others and inspiring them to change their lives for the better. It's almost like through counseling or something.
Because that seems, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That's okay.
That seems like that's what I do. consistently, but I just feel like it's supposed to be, or I could be totally, okay, I hear you. And that's the thing, if I can talk to whoever I talk to, it's my higher self or my guides, and they give me the answer, and their answer is immediately I do that work. It doesn't have to be in a public forum, and that's what I do when it's presented to me.
Yeah, and he just keeps shaking his head no, but jokingly he says she's just got to trust it. So not trusting yourself, but trust where you're pulled to and what experiences you're pulled through. So
did I come in as a walk-in?
Did you come here as a walk-in after that experience?
Yeah.
He says no. She's shaking his head no.
Okay.
So, no, this is about learning, like, the life you were living before and the life you're living now. He says this is all about, he says, think about it like shore, that you're learning what ego is and how to separate from it, and then also sharing that with others so that they can sort of achieve the same.
Okay. That makes total sense. It's just always been a question, so it makes total sense.
Good.
100. Yeah. I guess that's it, unless he has any other advice for me. I mean,
he says one thing to keep in mind when we go through experiences like that, we have that sense of ownership, like I should have that memory and I don't have it. So then it's almost like having angry emotions at it, and I want to cover it up or forget it. I don't like that part of what I experienced. Even though it may have been traumatic or difficult, don't sweep it under the rug. Keep it out on the table for everybody to see, he says.
Yeah, I hide it a lot because so many people have, of course they don't believe what I say,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then, so I've gotten to a point where I just not even explain to you because it's just going to be a 5-hour conversation about how that's not how it's supposed to go. But it's how it goes.
I can understand. And he says that, again, this is all about separating from ego. So, but keep it out there. He says don't hide it and don't be ashamed of what you've been through and who you are now, because it makes me feel like you've been trying to just kind of sweep it under the rug and, it's not acknowledge that part of your experience.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. I'll never forget the experience in it of itself. It's not a memory that could be lost. I remember every single second of it, even though there's no time. But in human language, I remember every single second of it. And with that, every day brings more knowledge that I receive now that I didn't receive then. So, yeah, it's a very beautiful thing that I take openly.
He's like, see, she's listening to her heart already.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then my last question, I'll let you go, is, Erik, was it you that was in the doorway the other night when I was talking to you?
He just goes, ha, ha, ha.
That's what he did in the doorway. Yeah, because
I think he got called out.
Thanks for calling. I'm going to try to get one. I'm going to try to get one more person in before we close. Pretty soon.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye.
All right. 201 area code. We can take this call if you can make it kind of short, because I don't want to run into the other person's show. Is that possible?
Sure, yes. Hi, Lisa, Kim, and Erik. I'm so excited to be on.
Hi, sweetie.
Okay, I will be quick. So I'm approaching my 30s. I'm in my late 20s, and I have so many questions about my career. And I'm just hoping maybe Erik can share some words of wisdom with me.
Good one. Oh, you're getting so old. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. He says, don't ever take a job where you're going to be capped out, meaning like this is the highest on the ladder you're going to go. He says, you're somebody who's constantly going to need forward movement, so possibility to advance in whatever position you're in, because if you can't do that, he says you're going to get. He says you're very no offense, but you're very impulsive. He says, so if you get jaded, if you get bored easy, then you're going to think you need a whole career shift, and that's not it. He says you're somebody who needs to continue to be challenged You're very smart, very, very smart, he says, and you need that to be challenged. You need to be applying that. So he says, if I could give you any quick advice about career, don't take a position where you're going to be capped out or maxed out as far as your advancement.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I've thought of my own entrepreneurial efforts. Does he have any words about that?
And his arms up wide. He said, see, complete freedom, meaning you're only going to be capped out in accordance to your creativity, your imagination. So that's something I think you're going to be really successful at because you crave more. Like you're a very motivated person. You're a very strong person.
Yeah, that's how I am. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay, bye.
Yes, thank you so much for calling, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great show. Kim, thank you so much for being my son's voice. I just can't tell you how much gratitude I feel for that. And
You're so
you guys,
welcome.
we have the 8-city tour that's going to start in Denver here pretty soon. So please check out the blog for that information. Kim, Erik, anything else you want to say before we close?
Yes, real quick. A few minutes back, he turned to you, Elisa, and he just kind of opened his arms and looked at you, and he said, can you believe how much love we get out of a tragedy? How much love is born out of the tragedy of my physical loss? And then he just took a moment to thank you. So just again, always so grateful.
I know it sounds terrible, but I'd rather have you here in my arms, baby. But not if you would have to be unhappy, of course. So, but anyway, thanks everybody.
I know, Mom.
Thanks, Kim. Enjoy Hawaii,
You're so
Kim.
welcome. I will. Thank you guys so much.
Fun.
All right.
Bye,
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.